The Miami Dolphins are going to be looking at the free agent market. We are $16 million over the cap. So there's some maneuvering that I keep saying we're going to make a video on, and we still haven't made a video on, but don't worry. We'll do it at some point, explaining how the Dolphins can create themselves cap space. And they definitely have the ability to do so. They have space. They have players that they can either cut or take their money, make it a signing bonus, and find a way to get $30 million under the cap. So that leaves room for players. And that leaves room for players like you see the man here we're here to talk about, Jessie Bates, the safety for the Cincinnati Bengals, coming off his best season as a pro. And he's going to be probably hitting the open market. The Bengals are going to have to pay Joe Burrow, next or 2 years from now, I believe. So this is his fifth year, or no, this is his fourth year, then fifth year. So they're going to pay him. They're going to have a contract for him in 2 years' time. And so it's going to be hard to keep all these guys. So there's a good chance people like Jessie Bates end up leaving the Bengals. And again, he's coming off his best season as a pro, 4 interceptions, 71 total tackles. When he was thrown at in his general direction, allowed only a 51% completion percentage, only allowed 309 yards all year, 76 passer rating, and only 94 yards after the catch. 94 yak yards he allowed all season long. 51% completion percentage, 309 yards all year, 76 passer rating, 94 yards yak, 94 yards after the catch. That's incredible. That is an incredible safety season. And he was an all-pro back in 2020, and he hasn't gotten worse. He's gotten better. You look at that as a potential pairing in the secondary. You look at Javon Holland and Jessie Bates. Rotate Brandon Jones in there. Rotate Blitz Boy. He calls himself Blitz Boy. That's not an insult. Rotate Blitz Boy in there and throw some different packages, maybe a 3 safety look, and have Brandon Jones again pressuring the quarterback, which he does so well. I would love to see that. He's going to have to get paid. He is going to have to get paid. He was paid $13 million last year. If my memory serves me correct, that was on the franchise tag. And then now he could be franchise tagged again. So that is something that certainly can be done. Or the Bengals are going to have to extend him. They have their choice on the table. He's an unrestricted free agent. Either tag him or he hits the open market, or obviously extend him. But you look around the safety pool. You look around at players who are safeties that have gotten their big contracts. He was paid $13 million. I think he was just around the top 10 in terms of highest paid safeties. I think he might even literally been top 10 at a $13 million cap hit. But then you look at guys like the best of the best. You're looking at Derwin James. You're looking at Minkah Fitzpatrick. Derwin James actually is the highest paid safety last year at $19 million. And Jessie Bates isn't quite Derwin James, but he's definitely, one thing is he's way more available than Derwin James. He's missed only one game in his entire career. He was drafted in the second round. He's missed one game his entire year, or his entire career. One game. That was not this last season, but the season before. This last season, played 95% of snaps. That was his worst as career. 95% of snaps. He did not get off the field last year. Excuse me. No, that was 2 years ago when he missed that game. Last year was 98%. He's had 2 or 3 99% snap games or snap years where he played nearly every single snap. He's missed one game in his entire career. He is available. That's something Derwin James is not. We've seen Derwin James sustain quite a few injuries. He's got so much things to like. Great pass coverage ability, 4 interceptions, 71 total tackles. That doesn't allow a lot of passes to be completed. When they are completed, he's able to run them down, hone them in, only allow 76 passer rating. It's just imagine that secondary. Imagine that secondary. Obviously, we made the video, Jalen Ramsey, and making that video in Jalen Ramsey, maybe I was a little too overzealous about the thought of bringing Jalen Ramsey. Again, you're probably going to have to give like two second-round picks. You might get a 5th back, and you're obviously going to get Jalen back, but that's a lot to give him, as well as he is going to want probably a new contract. And then you look at him and Xavier Howard, and Xavier Howard is obviously still an incredible player, but both of them are coming off their worst years as a pro, and you put that together, and there are obviously also excuses for why they did that. Xavier Howard saw all of his defensive players injured around him, specifically in the secondary. He saw Byron Jones not play a single snap. He saw Nick Needham go down early in the season. He saw Trill Will not get it out of preseason. He saw Nick Needham go down early on the season, so that affected the secondary as a whole, and he just is the head point of that. He's then the best player left, as well as Javon Holland, so they looked a little worse, and that was reflected in the stats. The Miami Dolphins, 27th in passing yards allowed, 30th in turnovers allowed, or turnovers gotten. And we saw under Brian Flores, we had the longest streak in the NFL of turnover games with a turnover in a row. We were 30th in turnovers forced, 26th in passing touchdowns allowed. So the secondary, huge need, absolutely huge need. And Jessie Bates coming in, without a doubt, makes the secondary just so much better. You bring in Vic Fangio, and that's going to help the defense. Whether we make any splashes or not, whether we sign anybody, whether we draft anybody, Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator, we know off rip that is going to significantly help the Miami Dolphins. I'm so excited for what this defense is going to look like with Vic Fangio. But then you add some talent. The offense is looking pretty good. We need to bring in a running back. You find that in the draft. We need to bring in offensive linemen. That is something that we're probably still also going to cover here on Miami Dolphins Syndicate if you're watching over on YouTube. That is something that's definitely going to be addressed. But the defense is, that was the weak point last year. And adding a guy, Jessie Bates, having that pairing, him and Javon Holland. We only have 3 safeties under contract right now, one of them being Javon Holland. Those two as a safety pairing, you're not getting anything over the top. You're not getting anything. And then how we can get to the quarterback, they're going to have to live around 10 yards from the line of scrimmage and hit it quick, because we're getting to your guy. We have some of the best numbers in terms of quarterback pressures, not the sacks, but the quarterback pressures last year. And those sack numbers would have been a lot higher if we had a secondary that could stay on their man. And I've called out a certain individual quite a few times, Mr. Keon Crossan, but it wasn't his fault. He wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. He ended up being there, and it happens. But then Jessie Bates, you bring in Jessie Bates, completely changes the dynamic of the secondary. You still have Xavier Howard, you have Javon Holland. You hopefully see Nick Needham come back healthy enough. Hopefully Trill Will comes and steps in and is healthy enough. You got Jessie Bates that season again last year, 51% completion percentage allowed, 76 passer rating, 94 yards yak, 309 total yards allowed all year, 4 interceptions, 71 total tackles. That comes into this Miami Dolphins defense and is immediately a game changer. That defense immediately starts to look back to how it did. Also bringing in Vic Fangio, it looks exactly like it did when we had Brian Flores running the ship. The defense looked fantastic. You pair that with the offense, how that looked last year, that's a pretty good team. And bringing in Jessie Bates could be a very good start to that.